Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down this really fiery moment from a college debate that just blew up online. And it all comes down to this one really provocative question. Is Vice President Kamala Harris a DEI candidate? All right, so let's just jump right in. This is the line from conservative commentator Charlie Kirk that started the whole thing. And look, it's a super pointed claim, right? So to really get why it caused such a stir, we got to understand the argument he's actually making. Okay, so here's how we're going to tackle this. We'll start with the claim itself, then look at the case Kirk makes for it. After that, we'll unpack two really interesting counterarguments from the students, and finally, get to what this whole disagreement is really about at its core.
All right, first things first. What does it even mean to call a politician a DEI candidate?
So here's the thing. For this whole debate, you can kind of forget the textbook definition of DEI. What really matters is how the term is being used in this specific argument. Think of it this way. DEI is being presented as a kind of filter in a hiring process, a filter based on identity. And understanding that framing is the key to everything else.
Okay, so keeping that idea of a filter in mind, let's unpack the case that Charlie Kirk is making. How does he back this up?
This right here, this is the linchpin of Kirk's entire argument. He's pointing to a very public promise that Joe Biden made when he was running for president back in 2020. According to Kirk, that statement set the terms for the search right from the very beginning. So the idea here is that this wasn't just a search for the best person, period. The argument is that the process began with these specific identity requirements already in place, race and gender, which narrowed the field from the get-go. And to really drive this point home, Kirk then goes after Harris's actual record. He brings up her time as DA in San Francisco, points to rising crime stats when she was Attorney General of California, and even says that, behind the scenes, another candidate, Amy Klobuchar, was actually seen as the stronger choice. Okay, so that's the claim. Now let's get into the pushback. The first big counter-argument comes from a student named Mason, and he goes right at the foundation of Kirk's entire point. This whole idea that Harris wasn't the most competent choice. And Mason's whole counter really starts with this simple but honestly pretty profound question. When we say someone is the most competent politician, what does that even mean? Like, how do you measure that? And can you ever really do it objectively? And this quote from him just nails it. His point is that competency isn't some fixed thing we can all agree on. It's totally subjective. I mean, what you see as a strength, like a tough-on-crime record, someone else might see as a huge negative. And this really gets to the heart of the disagreement, doesn't it? On one side, you have this idea that merit is objective. You can look at the numbers, the stats, the outcomes. But on the other side, you have this idea that merit is totally in the eye of the beholder. It's about what different voters actually value. All right, now let's talk about the second counterargument. This one came from another student, Parker, and he took a totally different and frankly pretty surprising angle. So Parker starts with something we all probably learned in civics class, right? You've got California with almost 40 million people, and they get 2 senators. Then you have Wyoming with way, way fewer people, and they also get 2 senators. That's not based on population at all. And this is where Parker makes his point. He's basically saying, hey, look at this. This system isn't about giving power based on pure numbers. It's about ensuring equity for the smaller states, so they don't just get ignored. And that right there completely reframes the entire conversation. What he's saying is, this idea of DEI, it isn't some new radical concept. It's a principle that's actually baked into the structure of our own government, designed to give a voice to minority groups. In this case, the minority being people who live in less populated states. So when you take a step back and look at the whole thing, the claim, the counters, you realize this debate isn't really just about Kamala Harris. It's a debate about what that one little acronym, DEI, actually means to different people. And this is really the crux of it all. You see, they're basically talking past each other. They're not even arguing about the same thing because they have 2 totally different definitions of DEI. For one side, it's a political tool that short-circuits merit. For the other, it's a fundamental principle of fairness. So in the end, this whole viral debate, it was never really just about one vice president. What it really did was shine a huge spotlight on this fundamental conflict in how we choose our leaders. So which is it? Is DEI a necessary tool for fairness, making sure everyone gets a seat at the table? Or is it a dangerous compromise on merit, on just picking the best person for the job, period?
This debate doesn't really give us an easy answer, but man, it does a perfect job of framing the question for all of us to think about.